I never put my hands on anybody. I never raised my voice too loud. Like, this was one of them times where it was like, it shouldn't have got this crazy.
It shouldn't have escalated.
Right.
That it did.
I feel that it would have really tipped those scales to reasonable doubt to find that Mr. Peterson was innocent. And that's why today we humbly pray for exoneration of Mr. Daystar Peterson.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
You will not believe the bombshells Tory Lanez's lawyers just dropped in court to try and get him out of prison. We're talking shocking claims about the DNA evidence and accusations that the first trial was completely unfair. Is he innocent after all? Let's get into it. We have a massive update on a case that has had the internet divided for years. The Tory Lanez and Megan Thee Stallion shooting case.
Rapper Tory Lanez has been charged with shooting artist Megan Thee Stallion during an argument. The DA's office says Lanez, whose legal name is Daystar Peterson, shot Megan's feet during an argument in the Hollywood Hills July 12th.
Now, we all know Tory Lanez, aka Daystar Peterson, was convicted back in December 2022 and sentenced to 10 years in prison for shooting the savage rapper Megan Thee Stallion. The trial was a whole movie with twists, turns, and testimonies that had us all on the edge of our seats. But hold on to your hats because it is far from over. Tory is currently fighting for an appeal, and his legal team came out swinging in court with some wild claims that could potentially change everything. They are basically saying the jury got it all wrong and that Megan Thee Stallion's testimony was, and I quote, riddled with errors. So today we are going to break down exactly what went down in this recent appeals court hearing. We're talking about contested DNA evidence, key witnesses who mysteriously went MIA, and whether Tory Lanez actually got a fair shot. Grab your popcorn because this is about to get messy. Let's get into the tea. A miscarriage of justice. Alright, so let's set the scene. It's Monday, August 18th, and we're in an appeals court. Tory Lanez's lawyer, a woman by the name of Laura L. Cipero, stands before a panel of 5 judges. Can you just picture the tension in that room? 5 judges staring you down, and you have to convince them that a super high profile conviction was a complete sham. The pressure is on, and Cipero did not come to play. She starts off by saying that Tory's legal team has an unwavering belief that he is innocent. Unwavering. That's a strong word. She's not just saying, hey, we think there was some mistakes. She's saying, our guy is 100% innocent, and this whole thing has been a miscarriage of justice. My reaction to that? Wow, just wow. Calling it a miscarriage of justice is a huge accusation to throw at the legal system. That's like the legal equivalent of flipping the whole chessboard over. You're not just questioning a verdict. You're questioning the integrity of the entire process that led to it. It's a bold strategy, and you have to have some serious cards up your sleeve to back that up. So what are these supposed game-changing arguments? Well, let's get to the first one, because it is a doozy, the DNA drama. Okay, this is where things get really interesting and a little bit scientific, so stick with me. Cipero brought up the DNA evidence found on the firearm used in the shooting. Now, back in the original trial,
we're here to talk about Daystar Peterson, also known as Tory Lanez, who was sentenced to 10 years in prison for the July 12, 2020 attack on Megan Pete, also known as Megan Thee Stallion.
The prosecution made it seem like Tory's DNA on the gun was a slam dunk. But his new lawyer is flipping that narrative completely on his head. She told the court that prosecutors seriously misconstrued the DNA evidence during their closing arguments. How? Well, according to her, the test showed there was only a 1 in a million chance that Tory's DNA was on that gun. Hold up, let me repeat that. A 1 in a million chance. I'm not a scientist, but that sounds incredibly low. When I first heard that, I was like, wait, what? How was he convicted if the chances were that slim? Cipero broke it down even further, and this part is just mind-blowing. She said, and I quote, "It is actually marginally more likely that another member of the African-American population touched this gun over Mr. Peterson." What? So you're telling me it's more likely that some random person's DNA would be on that gun than Tory's? If that's true, that is an absolute bombshell. That changes the entire conversation around the physical evidence. Think about it from a juror's perspective. If you hear his DNA was on a gun, you're probably thinking, okay, case closed. But if you hear, well, there's a 1 in a million chance it's his, and it's more likely someone else's, that plants a huge seed of doubt. Shapiro argued exactly that. She said, if our jury had heard that Mr. Peterson maybe 1 in a million touched the gun, I believe that would have been enough to tip that scale and show reasonable doubt. And you know what? I think she's got a point. Reasonable doubt is the cornerstone of the justice system. If there's a plausible alternative, you can't convict. This DNA argument, if it holds up, is the very definition of reasonable doubt. It makes you wonder what exactly the jury was told in those closing arguments and how it was framed. It seems like the defense is arguing they were misled, and that is a very, very serious claim. The prosecution claps back. Of course, the prosecution wasn't just going to sit there and take this. Deputy Attorney General Michael C. Keller stood up for the other side, and he was basically like, not so fast. Keller's argument is that the evidence against Tory was strong enough to convict him, even with this DNA stuff.
I want to begin by discussing the compelling nature of the evidence in this case. Within minutes of the shooting, the police found the gun that was used under appellant's seat. There were only 4 people in the car. Pete and Harris both identified appellant as a shooter. That first ID occurred within minutes of the shooting when Harris sent a text to a member of Pete's security team saying, "Help, Tory shot Meg, 911. Harris again ID'd appellant as a shooter in the recorded statement, and we can get to that in a moment. And Pete identified appellant as a shooter both before trial and at trial. Neither of them ever suggested that anyone other than appellant fired the shots. Now, there's 3 times in which appellant tacitly admitted being the shooter.
He pointed to what he called 3 moments where Tory appeared to have tacitly admitted that he shot at Megan. Tacitly admitted is a fancy way of saying he didn't outright confess, but his actions and words strongly implied guilt. What were these moments? Well, one of the biggest ones we heard about during the trial was the phone call Tory made from jail to Megan's former best friend, Kelsey Harris. In that now infamous call, Tory sounds extremely remorseful. He says things like, "I know she's probably never ever gonna talk to me ever again, but bruh, I just want you to know, I was just so drunk, I don't even know what the fuck was going on dead." He goes on to say, "I'm deeply sorry for that. What happened already. I can't take it back." The prosecution's argument is that this is a clear admission of guilt. Why else would he be apologizing so profusely? He was clearly accepting responsibility for something huge.
So I get out the car and it's like everything happens so fast. And all I hear is this man screaming. He said, "Dance." And he started shooting. And I'm just like, oh my God. Like he shot a couple of times.
Keller, the prosecutor, basically said the evidence was compelling and that Tory was taking the blame. And honestly, when you hear the call, it does sound pretty bad for Tory. He never explicitly says, "I shot Megan," but he repeatedly apologizes for his actions and blames it on being drunk. The defense, on the other hand, would argue that he was apologizing for the argument as a whole, for the entire chaotic night, not specifically for pulling the trigger. This is the classic legal gray area. It's his word against theirs, and it's all about interpretation. The prosecution sees a confession, the defense sees a drunken, panicked apology for a situation that got out of hand. Who do you believe? It's tough, and that's why this case is so polarizing. Silenced witnesses and violated rights. Okay, if the DNA argument wasn't enough of a bombshell, Tory's lawyer came with more heat. This next point is all about the witnesses, and it gets messy. Shapiro claimed that Tory's constitutional rights were violated. Violated? How? She says his original lawyers weren't allowed to properly cross-examine a key witness, And that key witness was none other than Megan's ex-bestie, Kelsey Harris. Now, if you followed the trial, you know Kelsey was the third person in the car that night. She was the only other eyewitness besides Megan and Tory. Her testimony was everything, but when she got on the stand, it was a mess. She got amnesia, basically. She kept saying she couldn't remember key details, that things were blurry, and she even invoked her Fifth Amendment right against self-incrimination at one point. This despite being granted immunity by the prosecution. My face listening to that was just the confused emoji personified. How do you go from giving a detailed account to prosecutors to suddenly not remembering anything? Tory's new lawyer is arguing that because her testimony was so wishy-washy and all over the place, his original legal team didn't get a fair chance to pick it apart and show the jury the inconsistencies. The right to confront and cross-examine your accuser or a key witness is a fundamental part of the American legal system. If that right was blocked, it's a huge deal and a valid reason for an appeal. But wait, there's more! Cipero also pointed out that jurors were misled because Megan's former bodyguard, Justin Edison, was supposed to testify and then just didn't. He was a no-show. In their opening statement, the prosecution told the jury they would hear from Edison. He was expected to testify that Tory admitted to being too drunk and shooting at the ground. This would have been another piece of the tacit admission puzzle. But then he vanished. Reports at the time said he went missing right before he was scheduled to appear in court. My reaction? That is incredibly suspicious. A key witness in a high-profile trial just disappears off the face of the earth? Something smells fishy there. For the jury, it must have been confusing. They were promised a witness who never appeared, leaving a hole in the prosecution's narrative. Tory's lawyers are arguing this misled the jury and created prejudice against him. It's another point that makes you go, maybe this trial wasn't as straightforward as it seemed. What happens next? So after all these bombshells were dropped, what's the next step? Well, this isn't Tory's first rodeo with the appeals process. He was found guilty on 3 felony counts back in December 2022 and has been trying to fight it ever since. Now, it's a waiting game. The panel of 5 judges will take all of this new information and the arguments from both sides and make a ruling. This could take weeks or even months. There's no set timeline. If they rule in his favor, his conviction could be overturned and he could potentially get a new trial. Imagine that. We would have to go through this whole media crisis all over again. If they uphold the verdict, his last shot is to try and take his case to the California Supreme Court. That's like the final boss level of the legal system, and it's very difficult to get them to hear a case. So for now, Tory Lanez remains in prison, serving his 10-year sentence while his fate hangs in the balance. It's a crazy situation with so many layers. You have the DNA evidence, the witness drama, the alleged admissions. It's a lot to unpack. Alright, that is all the tea I have for you today on the Tory Lanez appeal. This case is far from over, and it seems like with every new hearing, we get another shocking twist. What do you guys think? Do his lawyers have a point? Was the DNA evidence mishandled? Was the trial unfair because of the witness issues? Or is the prosecution right, and the evidence is strong enough to keep him behind bars? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I want to hear all of your opinions on this because I know everyone has one. And as always, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to Extra Hot Topic, and hit that notification bell so you never miss an update on the hottest celebrity news. I'm your host, and I will see you in the next one.